Hi guys, and welcome to this social bookmarking script recording tutorial. For this example, we're gonna try and automate newsvine.com. It's a popular social bookmarking website, so let's get right to it. We're gonna open the social bookmarking project and make sure all the fields are filled in. I've configured this project to read from the URL list called new, which has two URLs in it. We're going to be building links to senuke.com in this case. Okay, so let's right click and click on add script, the site URL newsvine.com. Alright, so we come to the first page. Now when automating pretty much any website in any of the modules for senuke, there are a few basic steps you have to follow. Step number one is logging into the website. So let's log in. Here's the login link. Now if we click this link, we see that this box pops up. So all we have to do is automate the clicking of this. So select it and add element click. Look through the outer HTML to make sure you don't see any random numbers. If you see random numbers like this, just replace that with wildcards and then press save. Now let's right click and run this step to make sure it works. Great. Okay, now let's automate filling in the email address and the password. Now notice that this website asks you to log in using your email and the password. It doesn't ask you for a username. So when creating the account creation script for this website, you have to use the set variable command to set the user ID to the email address. Because when senuke saves the account information for that website, it's going to save the username and the password. It's not going to save the email and the password. So if you'd like the email and the password to be saved, then you got to set the value of the user ID variable equal to the value of the email variable. If you're confused as to what I am talking about, please watch the basic commands training video. Okay, so we've got the email and the password done. Now let's click the login link, login button, done. Okay, so now let's select these three and press run. Oops, I selected the wrong ones. Let's select, okay, let's just select from the beginning. Alright, now notice that the script didn't work. Why? Well, okay, in this case the script did work. But what you might have realized is that I did not add a wait for step after the navigate step or the click item step. So that would actually be bad practice, because if you don't do that, then it won't actually wait for the correct page to load. So I'm going to log out and I'm going to add the wait for steps. Okay, so after navigating to newsvine.com, we expect to see these words: login, register. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this text. And I'm going to move this right above here. And then after clicking this link, we expect to see these words. So I'm just going to wait for this piece of text. Press save and move this above here. Okay, so now after navigate and click step, we have a wait for step, which is what we want. So now let's run these three steps to log us in. Okay, so I'm going to press the escape key to deselect the element selector. Sometimes the escape key doesn't work, so you have to actually go in and click this button. Now, after adding that click, I'm going to wait for this piece of text to make sure that we're logged in. And the next thing we want to do is, each social bookmarking website is different. This one, the simplest way to add a link seems to be the seed link button. So what we can do is we can either go add element click, or we can go navigate to link target. I'm just going to use this as an example to show you that the feature is there. So this is going to navigate to the seed link page. So let's go there. Okay. Now wait for this text. Okay, so the step number 2 of automating any website is posting the actual content after you've logged in. So step 1 is logging in, step 2 is posting content. Seems pretty basic so far. So let's set the element value. This is a bookmarking website, so we're going to pick next bookmarking URL. Every time we call that variable next bookmarking URL is going to call a different URL. The headline, let's set that to the title. The source, we don't have a source, so we'll just leave that blank. Now, is this a report or an opinion? If we were to select this and go set element value, by default it's going to say combo select random. That variable is going to choose a random value in that drop down list. Now, chances are that any link we submit is not going to be about recent news. It's just going to be about something that we want people to know about, which is not in the news. So we're going to set the value of this to no. So how do we set the value of this to no? We select it, set element value, and type in the actual value, no. So it's going to search through all the values, and if it finds the value no, it's going to select it. So let's run all these steps so far to make sure everything's working. Great. So it selected no, put in the link. The headline here is actually incorrect. The headline it's retrieving from the URL list. So I'm going to change the anchor text here to SENUK blog. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, so it picked SENUK.com this time and SENUK SEO software. Okay, now this asks for a category. So let me show you how to extract this list of categories and save it in an SENUK. We're going to select this element, then we're going to click on copy items in list. It's going to say items from drop down list copy to the clipboard. Now we're going to go into the social bookmarking project and right click the website that we just added and click on edit categories. And then we're going to paste that list of categories that we got earlier. We're going to delete this initial. Okay. So now whenever somebody using your script or you using the script, whenever you're going to submit to it, it's going to ask you to pick a category first. And then that category we can fill into the actual website. So for this case, let's pick technology. And now let's set the element value, and instead of picking a random option, we're going to pick the category that was chosen earlier. The summary, let's set the element value. It says body, but it should not say body, it should say description. The body is only for social network, article directory post, that kind of thing. And body should actually say article. Body and article are the same thing. Okay, tags, let's set the tags. The tags variable is good. Let's go down and publish the seed. Add element, click. Now let's look through this again to make sure there's no random numbers. Press save. Okay. Alright, so let's run these steps to make sure everything works. Great, so it submitted the page. Now let's add a wait for step. Seeded on, wait for this text. Now we don't want to hard code this date because otherwise it's going to only be successful if you seed something on this particular date and time. We're just going to leave the word seeded on. And so now we've posted the content and we've accomplished step number 2. Step number 3 is saving that URL and adding to the URL list. So in this case, we have the URL in the browser's navigation bar. So we can simply save that by going to right click, add URL, and location URL. The variable location URL will save whatever's in the browser's navigation bar. And this was an RSS URL, we would just simply select this checkbox. Alright, great. So now we've accomplished the three main steps in automating any website. Step 1, logging in. Step 2, posting the actual content. And step number 3, extracting the URL and saving that to the URL list. Now, step number 4 is adding an initial logout step. That is because when we went to this website, newsvine.com, because we were not logged in, it would show us the login link. But the next time that we're going to go to that page, it's not going to show us the login link because we're already logged in. So we're going to have to, the first step in automating any website should be logging out. Because we can't log out until we log in, we typically need to add the logout step near the end and then move it to the beginning of the script. So let's do this. Let's navigate to the link target, and this is the URL that will actually log out that user. Let's save that, and then let's move it to the very beginning. Now let's try to actually go to this URL and see what happens. Does it show us the login link right on that page, or do we need to go to a different page to log in? So, okay. So once we go to that page, we see that it takes us to newsvine.com, the home page. Now let's run it again to make sure that if we're not logged in, it still lets us log out. Some websites, they throw an error message if they detect that you're trying to log out but you weren't logged in already. Okay, so it takes us to this home page. So it turns out that we can simply navigate to the logout page instead of having to go to the site URL. So instead of going to newsvine.com as our first step, we're just going to go to this page. And everything else will be a piece of cake from there. Now, one thing you might have realized is when we created this script, we simply automated seeding one link. So we simply automated the website to submit one URL. But you'll notice that the social bookmarking project, it lets you submit multiple URLs. You can say bookmark all the websites above. In this case, it's reading from a URL list. Or you can tell it to bookmark a few random links. But in this case, we haven't added any kind of loop which would do the same thing for multiple URLs. So let's go and actually fix that right now. Let's navigate all the way up to this page. Actually, we don't even need to navigate to that page. All we can do is add a jump to step that will take us back to step number 9, which navigates to the seed a link page. So I'm going to move this. Actually, I don't need to move this. So okay, let me try and explain what's going on here. Once the script is finished and adds the URL to the URL list, it's going to go back. It's going to get to step number 21, and then that step is going to take it back to step number 9. Now, once it gets to step number 9, it's going to repeat the same thing all over again for the next URL. And then it's going to get to the end, and then it's going to go back to step number 9 and keep repeating. Now, this is going to be stuck in a loop that never ends. In programming terms, that's called an infinite loop. So we need to be able to check whether all the URLs have been bookmarked, and then we can call this script to finish. So what we can do is we can add a check if condition, and we can say if all the URLs are bookmarked, then jump to, right now I'm just going to type in step number 99. So I'm going to move this step above here. So before jumping to step number 9, it's going to first check to make sure that all URLs have not been bookmarked. If all the URLs are bookmarked, it's going to jump to step number 99. Otherwise, it's going to jump to the next step. Now I'm going to add a mark finish step as step number 23. I'm going to change this to step number 23. So after it submits a URL and adds that URL to the URL list, it's gonna check to see if all the URLs are bookmarked. If that comes, if all the URLs have been bookmarked, then it's just gonna jump to step number 23 and skip this jump to step, which would create a loop. So I hope that was simple enough to understand. So this is something that you need to keep in mind for automating any bookmarking URL or any any bookmarking site or any RSS site where you need to go back and submit multiple URLs one by one. So for any of those websites, you need to add a check if condition or a jump to step. So now let's run the script from step number 1 just to make sure that everything works as it should. So I'm just going to press the run button. Now many of the things it does, you can't really see what it's doing because it does it so fast, but most of the things you should be able to see. Okay, so now it's submitting senuke.com, which is the first link. Now it's submitting the next link, which is senuke.com/blog. Now it checked to see whether all the URLs were bookmarked. They were, so it jumped to step number 23. So it worked exactly like we wanted. Loop through all the URLs and then mark everything as finished. So that's great. Now the last and final step that we need to worry about is other conditions that could possibly break the script. So the first condition that comes to mind is, what if the URL that you're trying to bookmark has already previously been bookmarked? Is the website going to give you an error, or what is it going to do? So let's run this script from the very beginning to see what happens if the URL that we're trying to bookmark has already been bookmarked. So I'm just going to run it from step number 1. Alright, so it's bookmarking senuke.com/blog. That's the first URL is bookmarking. Now it's going back and bookmarking the second one. And now we notice that even though we've already bookmarked senuke.com/blog and we've also bookmarked senuke.com, it did not give us any error messages. It simply let us bookmark them again. So in cases like that, we don't have to worry about anything. But if the website gave us an error message about that URL already being bookmarked, all we would have to do is add another jump to condition that would jump if that piece of text was found to the next URL in the list. So it would jump to step number 9 and try to skip the current URL that it was bookmarking, simply because that URL had already been bookmarked. So pretty basic stuff. After creating the script, just try to think of other conditions that could possibly break the script. So in this case, we thought about the condition of what if the URL has already been bookmarked. There are no other conditions that I can actually think of at this time. So I think it's pretty safe to say that this script has been completed and is a pretty detailed script.